I guess I feel a sense of responsibility too a lot of the time. A lot of the stuff that I was rapping about, I didn't, I was so young too. I didn't realize that now if I could do it all over again, I would have.
So Nicki Minaj is back at it again, and she's out with Bryce Crawford on an interview talking about her life, talking about the music industry, and talking about the faith, which is very interesting considering kind of the background that she's been in, if you kind of know where I'm going with that. So let's go ahead and look at a couple things and let's talk about it. Yo, what's going on, everybody? It's your boy Big Blue, this channel where we find the truth, seek understanding, and be the light. So this is going to be pretty interesting. As you guys already know, Nicki Minaj, she's made a switch in kind of, it seems like her lifestyle, her outlook on life, especially when it comes to politics. There's been a change in her that I'm starting to see, and that a lot of people are starting to see, and a lot of people, especially her fan base, are turning from her in regards to it. And even people like me are still kind of skeptical in a sense of the motives of who she is. But I mean, that's just the cautious person in me trying not to be fooled by situations just based off of where the person came from. Now, I will definitely say this. Based off of the recent things that I've been hearing in regards to the several interviews that Nicki Minaj has been in, I say that her answers, especially when it comes to the faith, have been more sound than most politicians. So I'll definitely give her that. I'll say that she at least cracks the Bible open. We'll start there. But let's go ahead and see all the information and topics that we talk about here with Bryce Crawford and kind of get a better idea. And let's talk about these conversations and see kind of what's going on, because there's some interesting points. But as always, guys, if you like this type of content, go ahead, like, subscribe, and hit that bell. Let's get right into it. Okay, so this first part that I wanted to bring up is very interesting because not too long, I actually had this conversation. I had this conversation with somebody that I recently had, my most recent Average Thought podcast episode, and we were talking about this very topic, and it's very interesting how Nicki Minaj, considering her faith, there seems to be like a reflection on the things that she's done as far as like her career and her music and how it's affecting the next generation. Let's go ahead and hear what it is that she has to say.
As a whole, just a broad statement, do you think the music scene is very demonically organized? Is there a lot of crazy stuff that happens in there? Can you kind of tell me a little bit about that?
Well, it sure isn't driving people to God. It's, it definitely isn't making people want God more, because it focuses on the worship of material things. And we all play a part in it. I've played a part in it, of course. It's not healthy over time.
Y'all hear that? Y'all hear what she say? I play a part in it as well. What's going on?
It's not healthy mentally and for the soul. Emotionally. I mean, look at all the young people right now that have to grow up in the Instagram era where everyone is, editing and photoshopping, and everyone thinks the other person looks like that in real life. Yeah. And these children, I can't imagine. I always think about this. I say these kids are so strong because I cannot imagine having to have dealt with this while I was growing up, and, while you're changing, your body, your face, everything about you, and, is changing. And then you have to constantly compare yourself to other people. And what does that do to the self-esteem of these young people?
Yeah.
That's what I care about. Like, I care about long-term, what is this doing to these young people that have to now grow up in this world, post selfies and post Instagram and post, the Photoshop era, what is that doing, and I guess I feel a sense of responsibility too a lot of the times, because a lot of the stuff that I was rapping about, I didn't, I was so young too. I didn't realize that there are young people listening to it and how it could probably make them make certain decisions that wasn't, really thought out. Now, if I could do it all over again, I would have changed a lot of things that I said, because
Ooh, get that buzzer beater right there. Very interesting. Now, this isn't like a gotcha moment that I'm trying to get here, but again, this is another rapper who, at the height of, or at least post rapper, I don't know what the situation is with Nicki Minaj, it's an artist nonetheless, a high paying artist, and that's got the fame and that's had the money and all that stuff, and now building up her family and whatnot. It seems that we're once again at this situation where the reflection of life, the decisions, the art that she created is now being questioned by Nicki herself. We've seen the same thing happen when we were watching Kirk Franklin's podcast, Den of Lions, and how the game was kind of saying the same thing. He was understanding that the music that he put out, he feels partially responsible for the youth that's coming up, or at least maybe the youth that's my age, considering that he's slightly a little older than I am. And the way that they think, their mentality, especially when it comes to those in impoverished areas and those in predominantly black areas, he feels slightly responsible with the music and the art that he's created because it condoned the many negative aspects of the culture that we see today. And Nicki is feeling that as well. Granted, she's doing what she does. I think she has a kid or something to that degree. And, you know, now that she's making this kind of shift in her life, it seems like, as opposed to what she was doing before, as you could see, as of lately, every time when I've seen Nicki Minaj, this is the clothes that she's been wearing. She's very less revealing. I mean, this is kind of a bit much. I don't know how cold it is in that room, but it must be freezing for her to be wearing that big thing. But it goes back to the point of it's important to really understand and get a grasp of what it is that we're doing, and who it is that we're affecting. And that was kind of the point that I was making before. When we look at the rap videos, when we look at hip hop and specific artists, depending on who the artist is, when we're listening to the lyrics and stuff like that, the thing that I noticed back when I was younger was that these type of music, of course, they weren't for kids. Okay, that's understandable. They weren't for kids. They weren't meant for kids. These artists, you don't really see them going out and doing like events and all this, that, and the third. But as of recently, as the years continue to grow and it's more easy to hear any type of music, these lyrics are affecting the youth. They're enacting the things that they're hearing. And they hear these words, these lyrics so often. Yet these artists will be the same one that will go out to like some kids event and try to be inspirational and stuff like that. Tell them, you know, they got a bright future. They just need to, you know, make good decisions. This and the third. Yet you out here talking about your rap music and shooting up homeboy, you know, doing dope and you know, sleeping around and getting this girl pregnant and all this stuff. This is the stuff that there's the stuff that you've been rapping about in your past. In Nicki Minaj's case, all the dudes that's been doing whatever to her because she's the queen bee or whatever the heck may be going on. And just like her various videos and how revealing that she was in those videos. And it causes that impression into the young women. It's like, yes. Is it the complete, like, the rap is what's causing this? No, it's not, but it plays a very big part. If this is the stuff that they're constantly consuming, that's what essentially they try to imitate. This is where the repetition continues to come in over and over, and then subconsciously it just becomes, they just fall into that type of lifestyle. And it's very interesting that Nicki Minaj actually says that. Because it is a thing. It really is a thing. And yeah, I get, you know, talking about, you know, your lifestyle, especially when males and their rap and like growing up in the hood, this, that, and the third. But I don't know, guys. It's taken a complete different turn as of now. The crazy rap. And again, this isn't all rap. This isn't all rap. But some of the rap that I've been hearing, the ridiculousness that I've been hearing nowadays, it's like, bro, what are you even talking about? Everything that you're saying is negative. It's about self, and it's about literally destroying other people for your own self gain. If people are constantly playing that over and over in their head, that may end up being their lifestyle. And it's interesting. But let's keep going.
I just don't like the idea of thinking that these people will now grow up wanting to change themselves as opposed to loving themselves, you know? Like as opposed to seeing how beautiful they are and realizing how much they have to offer the world just the way they are. That's what I think that's what I think is very demonic about the industry as a whole, is that it makes people feel that they're never enough. And if you feel like you're never enough, how can you be happy?
Yeah.
Okay, so this next part I wanted to bring up is in regards to dealing with anger. The problem that we're seeing now in the world, it seems like there's a lot of people, and especially if you're keeping up with the news and the recent events that's going on in regards to Carmelo Anthony and all this such, a lot of these issues are stemming from anger and emotions and not really being able to control them. Nicki right here, right before this part that we're playing, she's talking about how she had friends that would say, oh, you got all this money, this, that, and the third. Somebody says a comment, just don't worry about it type stuff. But then all that happened was that they got hit with a comment or two that was negative because, you know, they're starting to get up in the world, and they literally was crashing out and didn't know how to handle life after that. So it's like finally, once you finally put in the situation that she was in, mind you, that was very minute compared to what she's been going through, especially after all these years of being in the industry or being famous. And now this friend that thought it was just easy gets a little taste of it, and then we can't handle it. So now she's getting into the conversation less of her friend and how her friend didn't know what to do, but more so into the topic of handling our emotions. Let's go into it.
Saying it's okay and it's understandable that you haven't mastered these things yet. You're very young. You will master it though. You absolutely will. And talking about it and having other people see and hear, because faith comes by hearing, these little conversations, it's going to help other young people. And that's why we have to speak about things like this. We have to let them realize they're not the only ones doubting themselves. They're not the only ones hurting or feeling agitated, wanting to, respond to everything. They're not the only ones.
Yeah.
But in the long run, it doesn't benefit anyone to lash out in anger.
Yeah.
It benefits everyone to think things through first. And trust me, I have had to deal with a lot of decisions that I made in anger. Like, trust me. So I've learned. When I say these things, I'm saying it because of, firsthand knowledge, firsthand experience. But I can honestly say that lashing out in anger never got me anything. It never benefited me.
Yeah.
So then
it never got you anything. That's another buzzer. Nicki, what you doing? Oh, what's going on? Who is this chick? That's crazy. Maybe she's always been saying this and I just never know. But hey, man, that's so many people can learn so much from that. It's just as simple as that. Lashing out in anger is going to get you what? Happiness for 2 seconds, but then very much possibly be angry about something else in the next 5 seconds, or even worse, you affect somebody else. And then that causes issues later on, or it just immediately backfires and then you're just never in a solution. You're just stuck in a loop when you respond in anger. Let's go to 1 James 1, 19 and 20. This is James talking to the 12. Know this, my beloved brothers. Let every person be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to anger. For the anger of man does not produce the righteousness of God. Therefore, put away all filthiness of rampart wickedness and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your souls. And we also go to Ephesians 4:26. Be angry and do not sin. Remember, let's take it back a step before. Therefore, put away all falsehood. Let each one of you speak truth with his neighbor, for we are members of one another. Be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger and give no opportunity to the devil. That's interesting when we take that last part, and do not give opportunity to the devil. What does that mean? That means that let me change my view real quick. That means that when you're angry, these negative attributes that you're experiencing right now, this is not of God. Sinning while you're angry is not of God. And now I'm not saying that you can't be angry, but when you overly angry, when you just allow things to just sit and harbor, that literally just opens up your soul for the devil to just come in and go straight to your mind. As a matter of fact, let's go with that, opening up your mind, and for the devil to just come in and just plant stuff. You realize it? Have you ever realized any time when you're angry? Let's just reflect for a second. Anytime when you're upset, anytime when you're angry, you realize that you start hearing the voices in your head of stuff that you normally wouldn't even think about. Certain things are coming to your attention that you're just like, oh yeah, maybe this person meant to do this. Maybe he really didn't like me. Maybe he's just been trying to mess with me this whole time. Or even better, easy to be upset with your spouse. Maybe he really doesn't care about me. Maybe she is messing around with somebody. Or maybe this person actually isn't the one. Is this person really making me happy? These voices continue to come into your head when you're angry. So then if you never resolve whatever it is that is going on, where are those voices at? Whatever those words were are still implanted in your head. And they just sit as a block in the back of your head. And the more that you become angry and you allow these thoughts to come and seep into your mind, the more blocks is going to be put there until you just had enough. This is the devil putting in these blocks in your head, and you don't want that to happen. It's interesting because when I was talking back when me and my wife, we were dating, this specific verse 26, be angry and do not sin. Do not let the sun go down on your anger. Me and my wife, when we were dating at the time, if there was something that she did that made me upset or something that I did that made her upset, we would sit on the phone for endless hours while we were in high school and even while we were in college, but mainly in high school during this time because I was home. We would sit on the phone for endless hours, and literally we would stay on the phone until the early AM, probably not even say anything and just sit on the phone. And it wouldn't be until 2-3 o'clock in which one of us would just break and then just say something, and then we'd have a conversation about whatever it is that was bothering us. We literally would not go to sleep until whatever happened was resolved. And I don't even recall a case. Now, granted, this was something that, was built up over the years, but it's like, it's in the scripture right there. And I kept it in my mind. If there's something that I'm upset about, especially with the person that I'm trying to, try to make a life, build my life with, I'm not going to sit here and continue to be upset. I must resolve it before the morning comes. So it has to be resolved now. And ever since during that time period when we were talking, we are always quick in resolving issues. There was never, if there's a time where I went to sleep and then I woke up angry, it's never so much of me being angry, but the conversation needed to continue. We always at least started off talking about it, but it wasn't like something happened. I kept it to myself the whole day up until the next day. Because that's draining, guys. That's very draining. And that's just talk about keeping things in. Forget the fact of just being angry in general. That's just a mindset that we just shouldn't have. Things will make us angry, but we shouldn't enact on it, and we shouldn't sin because of it. That also shows lack of discernment. Nonetheless, let's go ahead and get to this last point that I want to talk about. Okay, so this one's going to be very interesting. We're talking about discernment ultimately at the end of the day, and when it comes to trusting people. It's tough dealing with this type of topic, especially when it comes to younger people, because trust is very important. when somebody has your trust, it's a huge responsibility, especially for me, somebody like me. I never want to lose somebody's trust. That just makes my life so much harder. And it's annoying, and I hate that. So likewise, I would want for somebody else to do the same. They wouldn't never want to lose my trust for whatever the situation may be. Granted, not everybody's going to think like that. And this is where we're going to go into. So let's go ahead and check it out.
That works. You know what? I have to be honest that just discernment.
Powerful rooms around a lot of people just in general growing up, career-wise, everything. How do you navigate to know who to trust and who not to trust?
That's a great question because it brings a lot of pain and sadness. Betrayal is very difficult to overcome. I wish I could say I have like some sure remedy that works. You know what? I have to be honest that just discernment. You don't know who you can trust. That's the truth. You only can feel them out. You know, you can feel them out and you can ask the Lord to reveal them, reveal their hearts, reveal their motives, and he will send you signs. I don't trust as much as I used to. You know, as you get older, you start realizing, oh, hey, this person didn't deserve my time, and this person didn't deserve my trust, and this person didn't deserve my love. You just have to get very guarded and protect your peace. And then just noticing the patterns and dealing with them and if you keep seeing the same pattern from someone, stop brushing it off. You know, because so often I did that, like trying to see the good in people when the facts were right there screaming at me. But now I'm just like, you know what? No, I'm going to base this on their patterns. What is it that they're showing me with their actions, not through their words?
Yeah.
And then, it's eventually there's a lot of trust there if there needs to be. But most of the time it's just a little at a time and gradually, and never doing the most immediately. Just allowing yourself to be still, not rushing into things. I definitely try not to rush into any kinds of business relationships. You know, I try to just take it easy, slow, and eventually the discernment kicks in.
Yeah.
You can sort of feel like, does this person have good motives or not so great motives?
Yeah.
Sometimes people come around you, they don't even know what motives they have. They don't even know why they want to be around you. You know, there are a lot of predators in this industry.
Yeah.
You know, that think that artists are stupid. So especially artists, you have to have your guard up. I know when I first came in this industry, I thought it was just all happy and fun, and I was just like this fun-loving person. Now I'm like, okay, this is serious, and I have to take this serious. I have to take my life serious. I have to take these relationships serious. So that's what I've been doing. But really, there's no method. I just say discernment. Like one day I'll just wake up and I'll feel something about someone strongly, and I'll just know their time is up.
Very interesting that she says that. It's discernment is a key component in life. Having wisdom. We get our wisdom from God. We get our wisdom from the scriptures. There's key information that we can get from scriptures that allows us to navigate through life a lot easier. For instance, the book of Proverbs. If you guys recall, I actually have the tag somewhere up here or something like that. I have the playlist of a proverb a day. A proverb a day will make the folly go away. Folly, foolishness, essentially. When I started reading the book of Proverbs, a lot of things, and I said this when I had the Average Thought podcast with Young Philo, and just dealing with other people and seeing how they act and decisions that you make. Reading Proverbs constantly, you start to see these scenarios kind of play out, and then you're like, oh, this is what that book was talking about. All right, let me go that way instead. And it's very interesting. We get caught up in a lot of these situations where it's like, what are we supposed to do? Or you just fall into the same repetition. And it's like, yo, have some wisdom, seek wisdom, ask God for wisdom, and he'll give it to you. It won't be in a way that you want, but he'll give it to you. You may have to go through something, but he'll give it to you and you'll remember for the next time. But you actually got to seek for the wisdom. And I would definitely start off with being in Proverbs. One of the things that's interesting is that in the book of Matthew, I like this verse right here. This is how I kind of live my life, and especially when it comes to dealing with people. Matthew chapter 10, verse 16 and 17. Behold, I am sending you, he's talking to his disciples. Behold, I am sending you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. So be wise as serpents and innocent as doves. And we see the same thing in 1 John chapter 4, verse 1. We're talking about the spirits. Now, the spirit could be just who we are inside, our spirit, our soul, whatever it is that you want to call it. We need to test these things. Now, these are specific to prophets, but we need to see everybody and who it is that is giving us information, who it is that we're aligning ourselves with, who it is that, we're just coming in terms with. So in verse 1, beloved, do not believe every spirit, but test the spirit to see whether they are from God. For many false prophets have gone out into the world. It's important, everybody, test the spirits that come your way, especially when it comes to those that are claiming to be of the faith and those that are claiming to be teachers, such as prophets, and trying to give you a revelation or give you a prophecy, whatever the case may be, or teach and guide you. You are to test these spirits. Now, how can you test these spirits is a good question. See what they're about. Ask questions. See what they know. If they don't know the scriptures, that's kind of telling enough already. If they're telling you a scripture and you're like, hold on, something seems a little off here, and they're doing the whole thing where they're just grabbing from one scripture, but that one scripture is applying to what it is that they're saying, but the whole section of that passage may not be, or the next sentence may contradict what it is that they're trying to say, that's probably one person as well. So be wary of these always. And then we see this again in Hebrews chapter 5. And I like this section because it's talking about all the people that are of the faith and being on milk versus being on solid foods. When we're talking about being of the faith and being on milk, I see these as like individuals that are new to the faith. You're babes in the faith. You're trying to understand it. You're trying to get information. You're understanding the love of God, the love of Jesus, and all that stuff. But then when you're getting meaty into the faith and understanding what it really means to follow the faith, that's when you need the solid foods. So we see here, let's see if we go to verse 13. For everyone who lives on milk is unskilled in the word of righteousness, since he is a child. Hence, a baby, you're new to the faith. A lot of people will be zealous, but it's like, you're still on milk, bro. There's still so much in the word that you need to know. Doesn't mean that you're evil inside or you're out here trying to give false information, but there's a lot of information now that's in the word that we still need to learn or really need to understand and really need to get corrected. But solid food is for mature, for those who have their powers of discernment trained by constant practice to distinguish good from evil. What is constant practice? Reading the word constantly, praying God for wisdom, praying to God for discernment, but constantly reading the word, reading the scriptures over and over and over again, and really understanding what the lifestyle that we're actually supposed to be living. Because people get this misunderstanding of who God is and who Jesus is, and give these vibes, give these thoughts of who God and Jesus is. And it's like, what scripture did you pull from to get this information? And that's where the discernment comes from when you're dealing with these false prophets. Where are they pulling these scriptures from that says exactly what it is that they're talking about? This God, this Jesus that you're describing, where is this information that you're getting comes from? Because everything should be in the scriptures. That's why Pastor Anthony Mitchell says this over and over again.
Read the scriptures for yourself. Read.
And even those that do read the Bible, it's important, just like Jonathan Major says.
I just gotta say something. Have you read the Bible? I would say read it again.
So it's important that we stay in the word. We continue to practice the word. We continue to build up that grit so that we can tell the difference between good and evil. Now, when we're talking about evil, we're talking about things of this world, and people are not going to like that term. But honestly, when you look at certain stuff, it's like, okay, yeah, we see what's going on. And it's interesting, the thing that Nicki was saying in regards to dealing with people, like she said, see people by their actions. The last podcast that I did, my guest speaker Demos was talking about how you need to know how somebody is based off of their actions and what they're about. Because people can say this, that, and the third, but once you see their actions, then you'll know. It's the same thing when it comes to the faith. People can claim I'm Christian, put Christian this, put Christian that, put some inspiring texts on Facebook, on Instagram, and all that stuff. But how are they living their day to day when they're caught up in situations that may cause them to be angry, that may cause them to be frustrated, that may cause them to do something that normally any person of the world will do, the negative act of it? How will they respond to that? When they're in their deepest and their lowest, who is it that they're crying out to? What is it that they're doing? Are they falling into the world and trying to find answers? Are they trying to find answers on their own? Or are they trying to find their answers based off of what God gives them? And that's sitting in stillness. Are they following God's commands? Are they following Jesus's commands? The Beatitudes and what he told the people to do and how we should be acting with one another. All these things come into account with our day-to-days, and all these things become, we become more aware of them as we continue to read the word, continue to read the scriptures, and be diligent about reading the word and what you are seeing, the words that you are seeing, because it's important, y'all. But interesting video nonetheless. Y'all let me know in the comment section what y'all think. I'm gonna catch y'all on the next one. Take it easy. Peace.